Welcome to the Wichita Real Estate Podcast presented by the Pinnacle Realty Group. This is your behind-the-scenes pass to anything and everything real estate in Wichita, featuring interviews with local industry leaders, market updates, and exclusive access to tips, tricks, and insight on navigating Wichita real estate. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy this episode. Hello and welcome to the Wichita Real Estate Podcast presented by the Pinnacle Realty Group. This is episode 5. We're here today with one of the most prominent and esteemed builders in Wichita. If you don't know him, you need to. Paul Gray of Paul Gray Homes, Paul Gray Construction, Graycon Construction, all the above. Paul, thank you for making time to come hang out with us today.
No problem. I appreciate it. Look forward to this when you invited me.
Excellent. So tell the audience, obviously we know each other and I know as much as I think I need to know about you, but tell the audience, introduce yourself. Who is Paul Gray? Where'd you grow up? What was your first job? How'd you get into construction? Just tell your story here a little bit.
Okay. Well, I'm born and raised in Wichita, Kansas. Never been gone longer than 10 days. Grew up in the business. My father's a home builder, and when your parents in the construction business, like a lot of people who have parents that are self-employed, you start working very young. I remember being 10 years old and watering lawns at the models, trying to get grass to grow.
Oh, really?
And by the time I was 16 in high school, spring breaks, summer vacations, I was at work. I was pouring concrete, setting the foundations, picking up trash. I started picking up trash when I was about 12, 13 years old. So I always had a job in the business. And I'm not going to say that I enjoyed it. I hated it. It was the awfulest experience. I mean, what 16-year-old wants to be spending spring break?
Right, yeah, wants to go work with their dad.
Yeah, and it was awful, I wanted to be out with my friends doing stuff. But for whatever reason, I kept in the business. Even though my dad said, don't be a builder, grow up and be a doctor. All three of my brothers listened. So all three of my brothers are doctors.
Oh, okay.
But I never listened to my parents, so why would I have started then?
Right.
But nevertheless, I grew up in the business, and then when I was right after high school, I went to Butler full-time, and then I also worked for my father full-time, running a framing crew. And so what I did was I took class, like 1 day a week or 2 days a week, real long days, and I spent the rest of the time on the job. After about 2 years of that, I realized that I have a lot of direction as related to school, and it was a good time to fully commit to this as at least a short-term career path.
Sure.
So I did that and worked for Dad, and then just continued and proceeded. And then when I was in my mid-20s, about 24, 25, I started getting really motivated by political activities that I saw in our community. I mean, I was affected by decisions, one, because of my age. I was affected by decisions that related to my industry, development, code enforcement. I was always very conservative with my financial money. And so I wanted to get involved. And so I got into advocating for community stuff. Mm-hmm. And I got elected to the Wichita City Council at 26 years old. And so I did that for 8 years.
That's a big boy job for a 26-year-old.
It was.
Sure.
I was not the youngest person to ever do it. My predecessor was 5 months younger than me.
Oh, no. Okay.
But not many guys ever did it in their 20s.
Right.
But I learned a lot.
Sure.
I mean,
I can only imagine.
The stuff you learn in a lifetime, I gotta get shoved down my throat in about 8 years.
Sure. So you were 8 years on the city council then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did that. And during that time, I elevated myself through my industry, continued to grow, and my knowledge.
And so you were running construction side while simultaneously serving on the city council.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Absolutely. I've always been like a 60 to 70 or more hour a week work guy.
Okay, there you go.
I never had a 40-hour
work. No.
Even today, I work
a 40-hour work week's part-time job.
Exactly.
That's right.
That's a hobby.
Okay.
So,
there you go.
And so about the midpoint time right around the time I turned 30, it was time for me to do my own thing.
Sure.
And my parents taught us to be very, very independent. So while they were sad to see me move on and do my own thing, they were also proud of me from a parental standpoint.
Absolutely.
And so at 30, I started Paul Gray Homes. And then, I ran that business while I was still involved in the city. But I decided to build homes in 2008. It's a great time.
Great time. Great time to get
Everybody should do it.
Right.
And so
yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, real estate's never going to burst or anything.
No,
God, no.
Like buy at the bottom, right?
Right.
So I guess that worked out. But I decided, I needed to feed myself and my family.
Sure.
And so we also got into commercial construction. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of good friends of mine, Brad Seville over at Landmark, Commercial Real Estate, Nick Esterline, TDGC Development. Those guys, Mike and Tom Boyd, Walter Morris, Patrick Ayers, who's no longer with us. And some of these guys, Slauson, gave me my first commercial jobs.
Oh, really?
And in it, there were little things like, hey, we would need to renovate a bathroom.
Right.
Can you build me an office?
He said, yep.
And that's what
Absolutely.
I did. And so that's how we got started in commercial construction. So the diversity of having residential and commercial was a big part of us surviving a recession when I'd say 50% of the builders in Wichita folded.
Right.
So we kind of went through that. And, today, after 12, 13 years in business, I have Paul Gray Homes, which is one of the premier companies in the city of Wichita for home building. I have Graycon Building Group, which is a commercial construction company. We do work all over town: restaurants, hospitality, office, warehouse, medical, retail, all of the facets.
All the above.
And we do that, and we're all over the United States, or all over, I should say, the east half of the United States doing commercial work. Yeah.
Oh, so the Graycon piece has expanded outside of Wichita.
Yeah, we just finished a job in St. Louis, Buffalo, New York. We're building restaurants in North Carolina, DC, Maryland, Virginia right now.
Well, you learn something new every day.
So,
wow, that's awesome.
Tennessee.
So, what are the what are some of the logistical challenges in expanding into different markets like that? Not to get too granular into your business operations or anything.
I'm an open book. I share. I got to where I am because people were willing to share with me.
Yeah.
And it's fair for me to get back.
There's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah. And so I have this other company, and I have very good, talented people that run it.
Excellent.
I operate it from a CEO level.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Gray Homes, I'm much more in tune with. I operate as a CEO level, but I do multiple functions within that entity. But I've got a really good team.
Yeah, I mean, the smartest people in the room are the smartest person in the room is the one that hires the people smarter than them.
Yeah, and a couple of them are a lot smarter than me.
Which is good. That's what you need.
And so that's how I can functionally do that.
Excellent.
And then we also have gotten into commercial real estate and residential real estate investment. I mean,
cool.
It's kind of a natural offshoot of
absolutely. No, yeah. I mean, it's all vertically integrated. If you can run it all from essentially the same desk, so to speak, why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's an easy expansion. It's a natural expansion, nonetheless. So
that's a little bit about my company.
That's awesome. No, yeah. I mean, I didn't know that you guys had expanded into other markets. We know each other pretty well, and I didn't know that. So that's huge.
I talk about it because we're here in this junction, this venue, but I don't talk about myself a lot.
Right.
It's just not how I am.
Sure.
One thing I learned from politics is humility.
I can understand.
Wake up and read the Wichita Eagle in the morning, and somebody's saying bad things about you. Like, I don't even know you. How are you going to say that?
Yeah.
You get a thick skin, and you decide to just I like laying low. Yeah,
if there's one thing I've learned in being a real estate agent, it's definitely having the thick skin. I can definitely understand that.
And about wife and family, I have a wonderful wife. Her name's Adriana.
Yeah.
Beautiful woman. She makes everything I do possible. She supports me in those 70, 80-hour work weeks.
Yeah.
And, she's part of that sacrifice that I make.
Absolutely.
At the time. And we have 4 children, Cohen, Alexandra, Sebastian, and Remington.
Yeah.
Oldest is 14 all the way down to 2.5.
2.5, yeah. Cool.
And we got a puppy.
I was just going to say, you guys just got a dog. What's the dog's name?
Dulce.
Dulce, that's right.
Which is Spanish for candy.
Yeah, sure.
So, and my wife being, Hispanic.
Sure.
It fits.
Very fitting. Maybe too fitting. So, last question before we really dive into it. I asked this one to the same guests, or the same question to all the guests. Favorite local restaurant in Wichita?
Boy,
this is free advertising for somebody.
Yeah.
And you can't say Oak and Pie.
Well, damn. I was going to say Oak and Pie. It's my favorite pizza place in town. If I was going to pick like a premium, it's going to be Newport.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the place is just a spot. If I'm lucky, I'm there once a week.
Oh, really?
If I'm not fortunate, I'm there once every month or two.
There you go.
But we're going in there. There's just a lot of fantastic places, Bradley Fair is a great place for different restaurants. We love Medis, we love Mediterranean food.
Oh, yeah.
We like to patron our clients that we work with also.
Sure, absolutely.
And, we work with a lot of great restaurant groups, but you can't beat Newport.
No, it's tough anyway.
Yeah.
It's solid. It's solid. So, in all of your entrepreneurial ventures, from the residential to commercial to the investment piece to politics to everything you've done, what's something you wish you would have known at the start? Something that you knew now that if you could go back and have a conversation like we're having with a 22 or 23-year-old Paul, you would say?
I'd say it probably has much to do with anything that a person can do, and it's patience. It's not so much patience of, it takes time to grow, it takes time to, develop anything. I get that. I mean, I've always understood that. But, the drive for not being patient, is ambition.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurs have that. So you got to balance that. But, in patience, I would say it has more to do with the relationship of managing emotions. We're looking at this world right now. Our world's kind of melting down today, and it's very easy to sit back and go, oh my God, I gotta go to the grocery store and buy my stuff, or I dumped my stocks,
Right.
But you gotta control that.
Yeah.
And in my business, it is the long game. I write a contract for somebody, I don't get paid for 6 months.
Right.
And so I've got to...
If everything goes to schedule and you get done in 6 months.
Exactly. And so you've got to sit back and you've got to manage money until the payday.
Right.
And not just run out before or run out right after, because, it's that perpetual cycle. And so that's challenging. Buying commercial real estate, I've bought buildings that I've owned that stayed empty for 2-3 years, and you're making mortgage payments to the bank for 2 and 3 years. And you gotta stay
taxes,
on the
insurance, maintenance, all of that,
the carry and stuff.
Yeah, and it's all going out, nothing coming in.
Yeah, and then you hope that you made a good choice, and we've sold some really good stuff and made money on it. But that risk is always there, and appetite for risk. When my 23-year-old self, when your stockbroker goes, hey, what's your risk appetite? You're like, oh, it's high. I can risk everything. It sounds really good until you're like looking at it and you're like, I got no money. I got no money in my bank. Oh, not only this, I owe Bob, Peter, and Sam
all this money that I don't have.
Yeah, and you look at this, and then you really understand what risk is. Lose everything.
Yeah.
Or just about lose everything. In your perspective for, maybe my risk tolerance isn't as high.
It's a little lower than I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so...
There's difference in being risk averse or welcoming risk and just being foolish.
Exactly. And there's a really fine line there, because when I was that young, I was foolish.
Sure.
And I'm still foolish today with some of the things I do. But you have to learn to calibrate it, and it's just experience.
Sure.
Time, experience. There's not a lot of millionaires that are 23 years old for that reason.
I can imagine so. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it is, you didn't know how to ride a bike when you were 6, but you figured it out, and you figured it out because you fell down a few times and you got back in. You didn't know how to drive a car when you were 16, but you figured it out. Same thing.
And Mrs. Mary's mailbox
may have something to do with how you learn to drive.
It out. Yeah,
That's right. So, I guess walk our audience through, what do we all need to know about your team? Aside from what we've already talked about, what do we need to know? I guess first, what do we need to know about your industry? Where's it been when you got into it between now? Where's it going? Obviously, you're not Nostradamus. You can't predict exactly where it's going to go, but there's got to be some kind of pattern. There's got to be some kind of experience talking that you have that would kind of lead you to believe that here's where it's been, here's where we are, here's where we're going. Where's the residential and commercial? Where's the construction, building, development game in our local market going? Or where's it been?
I'm going to focus on residential. Because commercial is a whole different animal. Let's do another segment on that deal.
Perfect. Okay.
But in residential, having grown up in this business, my perspective goes back before me just starting it. Sure. I remember there were times when my parents were doing really well, and there were times where things were not so well.
Sure.
There was times when I got the really cool bike for Christmas, and then there were times where it was like,
you got to be thankful for Christmas.
yeah, it's here and it's a day off. I can hang out with my family.
Right.
And there's times we're eating ramen noodles, and there's times we're eating, steak.
Yeah.
And I got to see that more than once. And it seems like the swings and patterns have gotten more extreme. The distance between them extends further, but the dips and the valleys
are more intense,
and the highs are more intense. And so, the first really big one I remember was when I was 16. And there's capitalists that are beyond our control.
Sure.
But you still see trends in the marketplace. Well, my father was a builder, and he still is a builder today.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he still builds today.
Oh, cool.
And but when he was a builder, back in the time frame when I was still living with him and working with him, it was self-performance. All the contractors had people to work for him.
Sure.
My dad had 50 guys.
Oh, wow.
50 employees. And he did every single thing in the house, from digging the hole to handing the keys to somebody, including the real estate, except for plumbing, electrical, and HVAC. Had everything.
Wow.
And so, they took these houses. My dad used to build like 150 houses a year. At the time, he was one of the, if not the largest builder in town by volume.
Forgive me, I don't know. If we were to sell 150 houses a year as a team, or like in our organization, that's a decent amount for other teams. That's, we do more than that now, about double that a year now. Is 150 homes a lot for a builder to do?
I would say right now, there may be one guy or two guys
in Wichita
that do that volume.
Wow. Okay.
And they're production builders.
Sure.
Now, those are not the guys I compete with every day.
Right.
I don't. That's not my game. That's their game.
Sure.
And those guys are really good at it.
Sure.
So yeah, he was one of those guys
okay.
at the time. And so that's the first.
It sounds like a lot. Don't get me wrong. Like, I just don't want to be like, wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
Be like, it's really not.
I built 30 to 40.
Okay, then there you go. So yeah, that is wow. Okay.
Now my dollar volume's comparable to what that is, though.
Sure, I would believe that.
But at the same time, that's when the market started changing, and all these guys, they've been doing it for years. I know how to do this. I'm a framer. I'm a contractor. I'm a sheetrocker. They go, I'm gonna do this for myself. I'm gonna be a subcontractor. So the market started changing 30 years ago, and now
labor costs then went up.
Yeah, and all these guys are self-employed subcontractors now that we hire, and hardly anybody self-performs anything.
Right.
And the market's changed like that. But during that time, and this progression started back then, but it has elevated itself to a whole nother level right now.
Absolutely.
The idea of customization. 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever, you go to the store and you get, they have 5 refrigerators.
Right.
Now they got 50 refrigerators.
Oh, yeah.
And
in stock, and you could special order 50 more.
Yeah. Apple, in perspective, depending on the age of our audience, 12, 13 years ago, Apple came out with the first iPhone. Mm-hmm. There was one iPhone. There wasn't different colors. There was nothing. There's one iPhone. Well, now there's
the X colors, and the Pro and the 11 and
the sizes, the colors, the prices, and how much memory.
Features, yeah.
Well, that desire at the consumer level to have options
has translated to residential construction.
Absolutely.
I believe that.
So, it made our job different. I don't want to say challenging because I like challenge.
Sure.
But it's made our job different. And because of that, it means we have more touch points with our customers. Because again, you write a contract with somebody, it's a 6-month relationship.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you like them.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're dating them.
Yeah.
You don't get a breakup with them.
That's right.
You can, but it's expensive
it's
for
really
everybody
expensive.
Involved. So that's what it's like. You got to build a rapport, personal interaction, and make sure you guys work well together.
Sure.
And one of the key components of that, aside from just having a good personality and be able to sell somebody,
yeah,
that's easy. You got to perform, and you got to have a team in place that carries your values.
Yeah.
Because there have been times I've had the wrong person on the team.
Right, and they were a bad reflection of you, and ultimately it's your reputation with your client. It's your name on the house, and if they're a extension of you and they don't uphold what you wanted, or they said the wrong thing, did the wrong thing, that's on you.
Exactly. And so, what we've done over the last years, then as we've grown and we've really kind of established ourselves at the level that we are in construction, I've invested back into my company with additional personnel. I mean, I have, I want to make sure my customer service experience is top notch. I mean, when I say I want to be the best builder in town, it's not just because I want to build the best house or I have the coolest designs. It's because I have the best house, I have the coolest designs, I've got the best customer service, my pricing is fair and right. It isn't low and cheap, and it's not just super high because I'm trying to have an exclusive clientele. It's the right price, the right people. We want to do that, and we focus on every single component of that. Our staff is trained. We've got people that, I've got one person, her entire job is just to work with the customers and handle customer service experience.
I was just about to ask you, the old adage is, if you want to test a marriage, custom build a house. So how do you strive, and how does your team really focus on that experience to make it as easy as possible for that couple that decides to test their marriage and build a house together?
Yeah. Well, I got to learn from firsthand experience.
Okay.
4.5 years ago, my wife and I decided we were going to build a house.
Sure.
And
all the options, all the tile, all the...
Exactly. And you got to think, I never understood how hard it'd be for her because I pick everything all the time. This is what it's like. Let's go in and pick my stuff.
Yep, rinse and repeat.
And she'd never done it before.
Sure. So this is new territory.
Oh, wow. And so I had to slow down and I had to be more cognizant of what she wanted. And we had to develop a process to work for us. One thing I encourage my customers who, you got some people that, they're Ken and Barbie and they're like in step.
Sure.
And then you got some people that, like my wife and I, we are very different people in our style and taste. Mine's super advanced because I know, I read all the builders books and I look at the website. I know exactly what's happening. And when no one else is caught up to that. And it's not fair for her. So we had a process we put in place that when we're picking something and looking at something, if one of us doesn't like it, it's gone. Wow. It's not over here where I'm going to talk you into it later. It's gone.
Wow.
You just, and then, you pick 3 things, 5 things, 17 things that you both like. Now you start whittling those down and the same rule applies. And then you land.
If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Exactly.
Huh.
And it is the way we saved arguments, and it's the way we made it through that process. And I've given that advice to people, and it tends to work better because you both got to live in it,
right?
And so
you don't want to walk by that tile every day and be like, well, he said this tile is going to be great, and I don't like it. Every day you got to walk by that tile or that refrigerator or that door.
Yeah, and this whole thing starts in the beginning. Because, when I first started selling houses, I give a price sheet to my real estate agent and they'd say, hey, I sold a house for you. Do you want to come in and sign the contract? Okay, cool.
Great.
Not today. Today, if that happens, because it's a spec and we sold it and it's done. But today it's, put me in front of the person, immediately. Yeah. I want to be one that, I'm not going to be the first person to see unless they came to me directly through a website or one of our marketing methods.
Sure.
But I sit down and I meet with them and I ask them about their job, I ask them about their family. What do you do? Where are you from? What do each of you like? And you get in a situation sometimes where the husband talks the whole meeting or the wife. I mean, I've seen both of them. And in those situations, I always make sure to go to the other person. I want to hear from them. I want their voice because, again, one person may dominate that first time, but in 6 months, everybody's opinion is going to come out and matter. Yeah. And you have to get them engaged.
Well said.
And the other thing I learned is you got to make sure that you spell out everything you're doing. I mean, you have to be thorough and concise and make sure that everybody knows what it is. Because it can't be, Paul said this in a meeting that one time. Yeah, I may have said it in that meeting that one time, but it's not in the contract. It's not in the agreement.
Right.
And when you've got more people on your team, you need to make sure that everybody all the way through knows what's going on.
All consistent.
Yeah, because it's no fun when your superintendent's sitting there and they're like, well, Paul said in the meeting you could do that. And and then they say, well, does that mean it happens? And they go and make a change order, or they do it for free when they should have charged, or the customer didn't get what they want.
Right. And ultimately, that's what it's about.
That's what matters the most.
Yeah.
You want them satisfied and happy. You want to stay in business.
Right.
But that's how you stay in business.
Long term. Yeah, I mean, we tell the agents here all the time, don't work for the transaction, work for the relationship. Because a transaction pays you one time, a relationship pays you forever.
Yeah. The cool thing about growing up and working with my father and his longevity in the business, I got a firsthand experience, see people that we built 2, and 3 homes for over multiple decades. Wow. Then their son came in and bought from us. I had one family, the dad, 3 houses.
Okay.
Son, 2 houses.
Quit.
Brother, 1 house. 6 houses out of this one family.
Because of relationship.
Yep.
In a 2-decade span, 15, 20 years?
Yeah. 20 years.
Jeez. That's cool.
I mean, that's repeat customers.
I was going to say, I would imagine any builder or anyone in any industry would kill for that kind of longevity of a family-based, customer-based, just in out of one family.
Yep.
That much business, that much income, that much to do.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's way cool.
So, when I get to that level, that's when I reach my goal.
There you go. So what's the biggest, I guess, what's the goal? Like, where in the next 5, 10, 15, X amount of years, whatever it is, where's the finish line for Paul Gray Homes? Or is there no finish line? Is it always going to move?
I save for retirement,
sure,
but I don't ever plan on retiring. It's
Understood.
It's not in my cards.
Understood.
If God willing, I live to be 100 years old, and that living to 100 years old is worth living to 100 years old.
Right.
Because a lot of people live a long time, and that's not a good life.
Yeah.
But I like to think that because of our age, that we've got that medicine's going to be there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I love what I do.
Sure.
I didn't like what I did when I was a kid.
Sure.
But I love it.
No one does.
This is what I want to do,
And
and I've had
it.
a chance to do other things.
Sure.
This is a bomb. So long term, I want to continue to be a top tier builder. I want to strive for the goal of being the best builder, because I don't think it's ever an achievable goal.
I was just gonna say, you can't ever achieve perfection.
Exactly.
But it's the chase every day.
Every day.
It's the chase of it that's a lot more fun. You got to love the process more than the product.
Exactly. And the bar keeps getting raised.
Yeah.
And that's great.
The line always moves.
Yeah, a marathon runner, most of the good ones, they don't want to just stop. Like, okay, I want to beat my time. I want to be a better marathon.
Right.
Let's do a double.
Right.
Let's go do a triathlon.
Right.
Ironman or something. And so that's the same thing for us. I don't strive to be the number one biggest builder. That's not my goal. Never been my goal. I never thought I'd get to where I am now.
Really? No, yeah. Which I guess would have been hard for any 30-year-old starting a company to say, this is what it's going to be. And I can see it happening.
Yep.
That's kind of would have been a lofty dream to have at the time.
Yeah, it would be.
Now it's your everyday reality.
But I watch the Business Journal. Every year they put out the reports, and it's a good barometer to kind of see where everybody is. And I see the guy at number 1 move to number 3, and number 2, and number 1, and
they're all kind of interchangeable
and
there at the top.
if you're in the top group, that's what matters, because these are my peers. I'm friends with them. My peers. I've got a couple builders that I consider my direct competition, my direct peers, and both of them are bigger than me.
Sure.
They're both 50-year-old companies.
Sure.
They should be bigger than me.
Right.
But we're a 12-year-old company, and those are my peers.
Right.
And
when you and I had lunch a couple months ago, I was shocked, and I'm sure the audience will be as well, to find out that you guys take trips together and go to conventions and out to dinner, and your wives hang out, and that I would have imagined such a competitive industry like new home construction and new development to be so competitive and so cutthroat that you'd never dream of going to dinner with ABC Building Company and XYZ Homes, but you guys go to Vegas and you guys go to conventions and you go here and you go all over the place all together. That blew my mind to find out.
Absolutely. These guys are my friends. It may not be a phone call every day to see how you're doing.
Sure.
But it's a beer. It's a go play golf. It's a go hunting, go trips, go, once, twice a year we'll take a trip somewhere in the U.S. to see what other markets are doing. And there'll be half a dozen of us going, And these are my direct competitors. But we all understand that we're in this together. Yeah. And that elevating, rising tide raises all ships, you know. And it's the same thing for us, because, some of those guys could have chosen not to give me advice.
Sure.
But, then I maybe I get to their tier and I'm doing things wrong that doesn't help the business, help the industry.
Right.
But instead, they know that they're going to have a competitor, and they're better off, trying to mold them into something
good that helps the industry. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are builders in Wichita that make all the builders have a bad reputation. There's real estate agents in Wichita that ruin it for all the good ones.
Yeah.
I mean, there's used car salesmen that are really, really good and awesome, and they care about customers and this and that. But the old adage and the old reputation is, you're just a salami used car guy. They're ruining it for the ones that are good. And I can imagine has to be the same across all industries, but probably new construction as well.
It's really prominent in ours because a home, a car is a car. I mean, we all have the stereotypical used car salesman, but a home is the most important purchase for most people in their life.
Yeah.
And you don't do it a lot typically.
Sure.
And so it's really important,
Yeah.
And it really hits close to home, pun intended.
No pun, pun intended.
Yeah, pun intended. I'll take the low blows.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's kind of like a doctor. You get a bad doctor, it can ruin you for life.
Yeah.
Same thing with a home. You can be in a bad position. And, we have our horror stories. We've had our failings. But the thing is every time I've ever made a mistake and failed, I was willing to stand up and fix it.
Yeah.
Even when I probably could have got out of it because my contract or because, something happened.
Right, yeah, I mean, the agent missed it. It wasn't your responsibility technically, or...
I still do what's right.
Right. And that's why... And it's those kind of values that you've carried with you for X amount of years that will get you to get 6 people from one family to build a house with you.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's all about. It's about the relationship that pays you forever. So what's the biggest draw or the biggest driver locally in our marketplace for new construction? What draws our consumers? What do you see in your experience and research and understanding and due diligence? Why do people choose to build? Or why do people choose to buy new, maybe a model, maybe a spec home? Why do they choose to buy new? What's the biggest draw?
Well, for me, my perspective is very selfish, but I sit back and I think there's a real misconception in this industry. Pre 2007, 20% of the market was new home construction, and now it's less than 10.
Sure, I believe that.
So I don't see that there's been so much inventory added that it justifies and warrants that. I think there's a disconnect between a lot of resale agents and new homes. They don't know how to sell new homes.
Agreed.
And they're missing something because, right now inventory is super low. People can't find, and when you go find a house, you're not getting what you want.
No.
And you're getting something used. People call it, pre-owned or, resale. To me, it's a used home.
Sure.
Just like it's a used car. It's not a pre-owned car because
it's used.
It's used. And, that water heater's old.
Sure.
That roof's got some wear. Unless they did everything new.
Right.
And if they did everything new. Yeah, and if they did everything new, it's really old.
Right.
And it needed it.
Right.
But, you buy a house from somebody that's used, it's 10 years old or 12 years old. The outside may never been painted. Well, guess what? You get to paint it in the next couple of years.
Right.
And it doesn't lay out. And you're going with the design style of, 10 years ago where all the spaces are closed off and everything's open.
Now you got to go in, you got to knock out walls if you can or want to spend the money.
Exactly. And so those are the reasons I think more people should look at homes. And I think the reason a lot of people do. Because some people will come to us and be like, I've been looking, nothing's on the market that we need. So we decided
we want to build what we want.
And I'm like, well, let me show you what we're doing today and what you're not even seeing in the market.
Right.
And that's what gets people excited.
I bet.
Our products
people want what they can't have.
Our technology is better.
Yeah.
Our practices are better. I love it. And I used to fall for this too. I love it when people come to me and they're like, man, I just love those old houses. They're just built so much better. No, they're not.
No.
The only thing better about a house that's 50 years old or 60 years old is maybe the wood was harder because it's an older growth tree.
Sure.
But the wood now is engineered.
And there's more trees in that neighborhood. Other than that, that's about it.
Exactly. And I'm sitting there going, and I watch, but you go back 50 years and 60 years ago, and so many homes were built by the dad and his brother
Yeah.
and uncles, and they're leaning, they're crooked, and you see the roof sagging because the rafters were undersized. And I sit back and I look at it, I'm like, no, the house is not better than what we do today.
Sure.
Just like you can't sit back and say because you like 57 Chevys
That they're built better than today.
and they look fantastic when you fix them up, that it's better than a brand new car now.
Right.
No way.
It's not. It's not as safe. It's not as fast. It's not as powerful. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Everything.
Yeah, I mean, everything is better.
And that's the thing for buying a new home, But we've got to make sure that when we produce new products, we're giving somebody something new. There's a lot of builders. This is one thing that's probably generational for me because of my age versus a lot of builders are older.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the guys are still cranking out the same house they
Rinse
built
and
20
repeat.
years ago.
Rinse and
And
repeat.
and that's why they're not doing as well, or maybe they're on the outswing of their career.
Sure.
And God bless them, because they were, those were the guys that when they were in their 20s and 30s were trailblazers too.
Yeah, I mean, they paved the way for you.
But you gotta continue to evolve.
Absolutely. You have to innovate because the market doesn't care what you did. I mean, you're only as good as your last at bat.
Yeah. Every time I build a new model, and I'm building a new model every 6 months, and I follow the Parade of Homes swing cycle.
When is the next parade?
Next parade will be April
That's right.
17th or 18th, whatever that Saturday is.
Okay.
Every time, my new models are always changing. Even if I use the same plan, it's going to be different.
Right.
You might not. It might change so much you may not even know walking into it that it was a different house.
Really?
Because I'm always changing, and it's fun because I'll build a new model this time, and then during the next season, I'll see 3 other guys do what I just did.
Really?
And I see that all the time.
All the time?
And that is more
So
motivation.
you're more
for
on the
me to
leading
change.
edge of kind of the design technology aspect.
Yeah, and sometimes we strike out. We're
Sure.
like, that people didn't like that.
Yep.
Don't do it again.
Yeah, so that didn't work. Move on.
But
Let's go in a different direction now.
But when I see Bob or Jim or Joe or whoever building the model that I did last time that I did great with, it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
But it also makes me go,
What's
wow,
next?
now I'm on the same level as this dude. Level up again.
Yeah. What's
Make it
next?
better.
Yeah. What's new this year? What's new next year? Because they're going to have this next year. I got to come with something new. I can't do the same thing.
Yeah, I'm already designing my new models for the end of this year and next spring.
That's awesome.
And
That's
then
awesome.
they'll tweak and change them.
Well, sure, but I mean that's how you stay innovative. That's how you stay on that leading edge.
Yeah.
So, in wrapping up, and again, thank you for your time and coming in today. What anything I didn't ask you today that you thought I would? Anything coming up that you wanted to touch on other than the parade? Come out and see all the pretty homes. What? Anything you thought I'd ask you today that you wanted to touch on with our audience before we wrap up?
I appreciate it. I love the opportunity. I love to speak about my industry and my passions. This is the stuff that I live for.
Yeah, and you're a good face for it. I mean, you're a good voice and a good face, and you're a poster child.
Thank you. The one thing, because of your industry, I would want to speak to the real estate agents in this community and say, there's a different way of looking at this. New homes is a great opportunity for your customers. And I know a lot of real estate agents, we do get a lot of co-ops. So
Sure.
There's a lot of fantastic agents. I know a whole bunch of them. But there's also 2,000 agents, and I haven't built 2,000 houses.
Right.
And so I want those people that haven't ever experienced this know that, there's guys out there like us that make sure to make the experience great for your customer. They make it easy on the agent. I make it easy on my agent.
Yeah.
I want my co-op agent. You bring me a customer. That's my only
Right.
expectation of you.
And I'll see you at
take
the
care
table.
of everything else.
I'll see you at closing.
Yeah. We're fair with our commissions. There's a couple of things we don't pay commissions on because we don't profit on.
Overages. And,
Yeah, like I'll
Sure.
put an allowance in a contract for a customer, say $5,000, and that's their contingency fund. So that customer has $5,000 built in on the front end to know they can buy stuff. I won't pay a commission on that because I'm not charging anything.
Right.
And I think Bob and Mary and Sue need to have the fairest shake at that.
Right.
But other than that, we make it simple. We make it easy. I don't have you chasing them around, change orders. We do all that stuff digitally. We do all that online. We use technology.
That's awesome.
And we love everything to do. We live and die by your industry. Without co-op agents, I wouldn't sell enough houses to survive.
Sure.
And so we appreciate what you guys do. We look forward to the next deal, of course. But we're here to answer any questions.
Absolutely. No, yeah, you've always been a resource for me and for my clients as well, and for the agents on our team. Even if you're not involved in the transaction, I know that I've come to you in the past and said, hey, this builder said this. I know you're not involved in this, but is that normal? Is it this? And you've been able to offer insight in everything. So yeah, you've always been a fantastic, phenomenal resource for me in all regards, even when it doesn't directly benefit you. And so I commend you publicly for that. So thank you for coming today. Thanks for coming in. So last thing, if you had to ask our audience a question you want them to answer in our DMs, in your DMs, in the comments of the video, online, email, wherever it is, what would you ask of our audience? It could be a question to real estate agents. It could be a question to consumers. It could be a question to other builders, because our audience is an eclectic mix of everyone following anything real estate in Wichita. If you had a question.
I didn't come in thinking of anything.
I did not prepare you very well for this.
But I would say, if you're going to move into a home, and all of us will at some point in time, consider our industry. And if there's a reason that you may have a predisposition to think that purchasing a new home isn't right for you, I would say ask somebody such as yourself, ask me, because I promote other builders. I'm happy to do that. Ask us to give you an opinion of their concerns, because they may not be warranted. Right. Everybody feels really comfortable buying a new car. Buying a new home is the same process. You get the same benefits. And I would be happy to help anybody out. What's your biggest concern about buying new over an existing home or a used home?
There it is. Audience, you heard it here first. What is your biggest concern over buying new versus buying existing? Jump in the comments, email us, DM us, all of the above. Let us know, and we'll get answers from the man himself, Paul Gray. Paul, thank you again for coming in today.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for coming in. This was Wichita Real Estate Podcast, presented by the Pinnacle Realty Group, episode 5, with the Paul Gray. Thanks for listening, and tune in again next month.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Wichita Real Estate Podcast. For access to even more information, join our Pinnacle Insider Club at cwichitahomes.com/insider.